detailed way of saying, looking at numbers and getting worried or panicking. But I think we as a country have done a phenomenal job of containing the corona or COVID crisis as of today. I think the numbers that we have are very, very less compared to any other country. I'm sure these numbers will go up, as we are seeing now. And some experts are saying that maybe by May or so we will see this peaking. So till then we will see these numbers going. But is it a cause for concern? The answer is yes. Is it cause for a panic? Answer is definitely no. So that is how we look at it. If you want, Hiral, I can spend few more minutes on, how do we look at, I would say I'll put broadly in 3 buckets. One is global issues, Indian macro, and markets. Do you want to do that?
Right. We will talk about that in detail as well. But Srinivas, right now, with the kind of audience that we have, what we need to understand over here is as to what should an investor actually do in these certain times. Because if you have to mirror this to 2008 as well, we fell almost around 38% from mid-Jan highs. We've bounced back 20% from March lows. But we're similarly mirroring something that happened in 2008. Is this actually giving us a word of cautiousness as well?
Yeah, I think one need to be cautious. I think the kind of rally we've seen in the markets in the last 2-3 weeks, everyone is surprised and worried because as actually we are actually seeing very sharp increase in cases in India versus 2 weeks back. Whereas it continues to go up. Also, I think 2008, that is another, point that everybody is looking at. Market fell, then it risen, and then we saw a very sharp correction. So I think, I'm also not too excited about this rally that we are seeing in the last 2 weeks. One should not be, carried away thinking that everything is over and then let me jump onto this bandwagon. I don't think that is the right strategy. For the simple reason that the numbers that will come are going to be extremely weak. Whether it is, let's say, May first week, we will see auto numbers out. In March, first 14 days were normal. And then in the first week of April, when auto numbers came, minus 30 to 60% decline in YOY sales, stocks have reacted negatively and then they moved up. But when May first week, when we see numbers coming from the month of April, I think it's a foregone conclusion that we will see numbers declining anywhere from 60% to 80%. And similarly, the results will start coming now, both for the financial year, last financial year or fourth quarter. So I think they will be weak. More importantly, the guidance or the commentary on the outlook, I'm sure most people would say, either negative or we don't know. IT company, Cognizant, global company has withdrawn its guidance for the current financial year. I think when you have that kind of a scenario, market rallying the way it is rallying, I think is, to me, looks unsustainable. I think the second important aspect is, and the whole game is the FII flows. We've seen in the month of March, we've seen 8 billion outflows. The highest that we saw in the last, in the Indian history. The last high was 4 billion. Whereas March was 8 billion.
Correct.
Yeah. And in the last 2-3 weeks, we've seen mixed numbers and mostly positive versus the intense selling that we saw in March. I think that is also helping the market to be the way it is behaving right now. So directionally, I think we will see more inflows into markets from global markets, as all central banks. I think apparently 60 central banks have reduced interest rates and ensuring that there is enough liquidity in the markets and to help the financial market. So even a trickle of that comes to India, we will see more flows coming into India. But I think we need to be prepared that overall we will have a volatile environment. And I think this rally, the rally that we are seeing, I will be cautious about.
Okay. And overall, do you see more pain in the markets over the next 3 months versus what we already saw between January, February and March? And with that, if that's the instance, then what's the kind of dent are you expecting on corporate earnings as well as on the economy if you have to take the GDP into perspective?
See, Hiral, GDP numbers, everything is super volatile. I think there is a one very interesting video that is there in YouTube also. Hindustan Unilever chairman Sanjeev Mehta conversation with Roni Screwvala. It's a very interesting one where he highlights, anybody who's talking about what will happen next 3 months, 6 months. He's just doing prediction. He's trying to be a astrologer, good astrologist. No one knows how exactly situation will pan out in the 3-6 months. Nobody knows. So, it is also highlighted by the fact that 3 weeks back, almost everybody who revised GDP numbers to, let's say, 3%, FY21 will see 3% GDP growth. Whereas in the last 1 week, we have seen from CRISIL to most institutional equity firms reducing GDP number to now anywhere from 0% to 1% kind of a thing. So I think we are headed for a very, very sharp cut in earnings also. A GDP number cut, similarly one need to cut corporate earnings number. So I think that situation will continue. So I think that is what is my worry. Answering your question, what kind of a dent you expect, I think it is very difficult to put a number saying that, okay, now we expect 20% decline, 30% decline. I don't want to put a number because it is impossible to put that number. It is a function of A, what will happen to in terms of flows, FII selling, and B, also what is the visibility on the health crisis. Let's say even in India, COVID scenario, let's say we'll go to, today we are at 14,000. Let's say this number will go to 50, 80,000, and then we will see tapering of this number. I think that's what I am expecting, a realistic scenario. But for whatever reasons, God forbid, this number continues to rise. And let's say in Mumbai, we are today about 2,000 plus cases. So I think it is very unrealistic to expect that lockdown will be lifted in India in 2-3 weeks. It will take time. But if it takes much longer and situation gets out of control, I'm saying the cases that we are seeing are in slums. I think slums, if 10 people get, that 10 people get positive, there are 100 cases. So I think it's a volatile situation. The point I would say is this year is a washout for Indian corporates. But I think this situation is also giving an opportunity to few companies. I keep talking to company management. There is one very clear message that is coming. That is very, very many US companies and European companies which were exclusively dependent on China are saying very clearly that we don't want to depend on China now. We need alternative sourcing.
Correct.
Actively talking to Indian companies, can you supply? So there are opportunities, but there are challenges as well. If someone is looking at investing into market, I think you should be prepared for this volatility, and that is where we would recommend people to come into. Right now, I would say large cap or at most diversified, not a mid or a small cap fund.
Right. So Srinivas, how should a retail investor look at the markets from this time, and what would you recommend them to do?
It is first and foremost is what is the risk appetite of the investor. I think in this crisis has clearly proved that it is important to have a surplus money, and you need to have that buffer in place. And then this 30-35% decline in mutual fund NFEs, I am sure many individual investors would have seen their direct portfolios going down 50-70% in a matter of 2 months and are sell shocked. But this is the nature of equity markets. I think it's getting exaggerated these days given the algorithm trading that happens. So the money that you are investing in equities has to be it has to be money that you can keep aside for 3-5 years perspective, and is the money that where you are willing to see, you don't need to book, but you are willing to see this kind of losses. I think those two are most important. If you have these two things, I think there are enough and more interesting companies now in the market. I am in the market for 24 years, and let's say 4 months back, I used to think that we will never see this the valuation that we are seeing today. Of dividend yield today, there are so many companies. I'm saying large companies also and mid-sized are available at 4, 5, 6% dividend yield. You want you getting an equity as an asset class, and you're getting 5, 6% dividend yield. Whereas today, if you put money in liquid fund, you're getting 5%. So markets changed dramatically, and that is the nature of equity investing. So there are enough opportunities, but I think one should be prepared for volatility.
Right. So how are you rejigging your portfolio, and what is your investing strategy amidst this recent sell-off, Srinivas?
Sure. See, at PGIM, we have a very clearly laid out investment process and philosophy. For us, we have every mutual fund as an investment universe. We also have one. So for us, any company to be included in the universe, there are 3 conditions we have. First condition is we want debt equity to be less than 3 times. Second condition is company should have an operating cash flow of at least 7 out of last 10 years. Third condition is demonstrated corporate governance. So today, in the last 2-3 months, I have rejigged my portfolio. This is what we follow across, but today, given the way things are, I have rejigged my portfolio to reduce my exposure to, let's say, consumer discretionary. Today, given the kind of liquidity that is there in the system, if there is a lockdown, most businesses are having big challenges in terms of managing their cash flows, and people will see salary cuts, income cuts, etc. So I think there will be a definite drop in discretionary spending. Also, this health crisis, today, for example, even lockdown shift is lifted, I don't think many people would like to go on a holiday, would like to fly on a leisure. Business compulsion is somewhat out. I think these are the sectors that one should clearly stay away from. So consumer discretionary, I've reduced exposure. Debt is a bigger worry. First question that you have to ask is, okay, if this problem continues, that over next 6-8 months, we will come back to normalcy or more or less closer to that. But in a worst case scenario, this can go on for a much longer period. And if it goes on longer period, many businesses, companies will go bankrupt. I'm saying that is a worst case scenario. It may not happen, but you need to plan for that. You need to keep that into mind. So I have reduced exposure to companies that have a relatively higher debt within my portfolio. But for an investor who is looking at stocks, so his first condition should be what is the leverage of this company, whether this company will survive for the next 1-2 years. What are the 2 essential ingredients for survival? Whether revenues will come, whether company can service its obligations. These are the 2 things that he has to see. Any company, I'm saying mutual fund, when you're investing, you don't need to do so much of analysis on this, but when you're doing direct companies, you have to do this. In mutual fund, you have to see what is the fund managers doing, and that is what you're asking me about what we are doing at PGIM. So we've rejigged our portfolio to reduce exposure to these stocks. Also, I've reduced exposure to, let's say, consumer staples, which are very high valuations. I feel, Hindustan and Nestle of the world, those stocks have done well, but I think they're trading at a super normal valuations. So I'm not so comfortable. Whereas pharma, chemicals, and utilities, I think these are the 3 sectors I like most. So we've increased exposure to these 3 sectors. Do you want me to explain reason for that, or you?
Yeah, if you could just help us understand the reason as well.
Sure. So let's start with pharma. See, if you see pharma sector, last 5 years, stock prices have gone nowhere, more or less down only, except the last big movement. Whereas these companies have continued to invest in R&D, building their capabilities and capacities. Capability in terms of what they can manufacture, capability in terms of reaching out to more markets in developed world. So all that they have done. But for a variety of reasons, we've seen numbers being not so great till now. and
Mm-hmm.
prices are corrected. So today, companies' valuations are definitely much more reasonable, and they have built these capabilities. And and pharma is one sector which is relatively recession proof. So we will continue to consume medicines. So their demand is not destroyed. So their demand to be okay. And then on top of
But Srinivas, I'll interrupt over here. You're saying healthcare agreed on the demand side, absolutely fine. But don't you think there could be constraints coming in on the supply side, because majority of your APIs that come in on the supply side come in from China? Do you think that could be a hindrance that we as a sector could be facing in India?
So I will agree with you only partly, that is where, when we are talking at a sector level. Finally, nobody is buying a sector, right? I'm buying companies. So when I'm buying company, I need to. Having said that, my own interaction with the company suggests Chinese supplies are back to almost normal, if not 8%.
Okay.
Not gone up. So, I mean, this is a very peculiar situation we are in. The problem originated in China, and now the whole world is under lockdown, but China is now back to normal.
Absolutely.
So, PGIM, we have an office in Shanghai. So, we did a call with our global team last week. He's saying the attendance in Shanghai office is 100%. Whereas in Italy, it is 0.
Absolutely. I mean, can't do much about that. But let's move on from the healthcare sector. What are the other sectors you were just explaining to us?
Yeah. So the second is chemical. So chemicals is again, it's a growing outsourcing play. I think last 1-2 years, we've seen few companies in India clearly emerging as leaders. Last 10-15 years, most of the global majors were sourcing anywhere from 75 to 100% of their requirement from China. In the last 1-2 years, some of them have started looking at alternatives, and few Indian companies have already benefited from this trend. And in the last 6 months, we are clearly seeing there is an increased interest, demand from these global majors, given what is happening, that, okay, we need an alternative source, and India seems to be a better place. See, if you don't have a relationship, business relationship, and you start today, global major, their approval is stringent. They'll take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years to approve it. But fortunately, many Indian companies are already approved. So once you approve, whether you source 1 ton or 100 tons, it is the same. So now Indian companies have to scale up. I think they are scaling up. So this is a good export potential for chemical companies, and it is not a 1 year story, it is over next 5-10 years story. So that's the reason why I like chemicals. And I'm not talking about bulk chemicals. I think our expertise is in specialty chemicals. We are not making, wherein in technical expertise is good. We make small batches and supply and make a reasonable money. I think that chemicals is a sector that I like most. Third is utilities. Utilities, I'm including whether it is NTPCs or PGCL of the world or CES. I'm saying any business which is more of an annuity nature. For example, power company, they have a 25-year agreement with their customers that you will buy my output at this price and this is what you will pay. If you don't pay, Government of India will deduct their share and give it to me. That assurance is there on business visibility. And these stocks are available at, again, almost all stocks are available at 4 to 6% dividend. And third, many of these companies are owned by government. So the moment you say government, I don't need to be worried about this debt and deal also. So these are the reasons why I think these three sectors is where I am a positive one, and we have increased exposure to these three sectors as we are rejigging our portfolio in the recent weeks.
Right. What's the view that you hold for the banking sector? Because again, we've been talking of the NPS that could be created, which could not be lumpy in nature, but yes, fresh NPS that could be coming in from defaults or happening on loan repayments by companies, individuals. How bad do you think the scenario could get for the financial names? And do you think that the relief that the RBI
fund managers and FIS also have no choice but to be having highest exposure to financials in most cases, because their weightage is very high. Even today, In BSE 200 also financials are about 32%. In Nifty it is 35%, etc. But as I said, there are three parts. One is a banking, second is NBFC, and third is, I would say, AMCs and insurance companies, which have no issue with the balance sheet. So I think today the maximum pain is in the NBFC category, or other than banks. So these, for example, Sundaram Finance is among the best in the NBFC. So that MD makes a very categorical statement, saying that we don't lend to the AAA customers. The best customers will go to HDFCs and SBI and can borrow. People who can't borrow from them come to me. So they are second tier customers. And the moment there is a pain in the economy like we are having right now, these customers, neither you are getting money, nor your customers from your borrowers, nor your customers are going to give you money. So this is a challenging situation. So I am cautious on financial sector per se. Given the challenges that are in the economy, we will see increased NPA and we will have other associated issues. One is pure numbers. We will see a challenge. Today, I don't know how many people have noticed, RBI, in addition to giving relief, made one interesting comment or statement. They said banks cannot declare dividends till September. What does it mean? So RBI is definitely seeing what is ahead. They're saying that banks need to conserve cash, so don't give dividend, which clearly highlights the kind of stress the system has. So I think one has to be careful. So this is from a pure business point of view, and I think one needs to be careful. So I'm cautious in banking, which means I'm underweight in financials. Second way of looking at is, again, from the stock market experience, not just here, but, wherever you see, whenever one sector becomes a very large component of an index or a market, so we will see some kind of a rotation happening. So banking has become 40% and now we are seeing correction. So, pharma used to be a big sector, pharma is small. So we will have this rotation in market, various sectors. So when I see that even today, banking is such a big weight in the market, so I feel it is overwhelmed. So to that extent, I need to be careful.
Okay. And overall, what's the sense that you're picking up from a retail perspective as well? If someone is really sitting on cash, do you think it's good time to even bottom fish in the broader markets, especially the mid cap and the small cap space?
I think mid and small cap clearly no. My rationale is this, when economy is going to be in a bad shape, I don't think mid and small caps can do well. So that is my fundamental rationale. I think we will see numbers getting worse in the next coming quarters. And the maximum impact would be on mid and small companies. Large companies, Reliance Industries could raise yesterday 8,500 crores. Maybe interest rate they're paying is higher, but they could raise. But a mid and small company would find it difficult to raise money also. So similarly, I think mid and small companies will have tough time when economy, if you're talking about GDP of 0% growth, these companies will have tough time. I think one should clearly stay away from mid and small cap. I think if someone has a higher risk appetite, he can still look at a diversified fund, not a mid and small cap at this point. And coming to the bottom fishing, if he has a surplus money, I think he can put in maybe 25% of that in markets. Let's say if markets correct a little bit in the next 1 week, 10 days, he can put in that. And the rest, I think he should invest over next, let's say, 3 to 6 months.
Right. And overall, another question I want to ask you is, what's the view that you hold with regards to the SIP book? Do you think that's something which could actually get impacted by COVID-19? Or do you think there is a possibility that because people are really scared, they are saving money, and that's one of the reasons probably the SIP book could increase? What's your view?
I think in the near term, we will actually see impact on SIP book because, most businessmen will have a serious liquidity or a cash issue in the coming weeks. and SIP, people can stop just like that. There is no cost associated with it. So people would like to conserve cash for a few weeks. And that is where I think we will have some impact in the SIP book. March numbers are not impacted because March, typically most of the SIP money comes in the first 2 weeks. And first 2 weeks, things were normal. So whereas now I think given this lockdown, extended lockdown, individual cash flows will be impacted, and I think we will actually have somewhat negative impact on SIP in the near term. People need money, and people have been, I'm sure, at least few have been shocked by the kind of value erosion they've seen with their portfolios. So I think we will see a slightly negative impact in the near term. I think over the next, let's say 2, 3, 4 months, as things get better, I'm sure we will see this money, this SIP again growing, because I think this crisis has again clearly proved that I think investing through mutual fund is far, far better option than doing directly. As we are talking, I think mutual funds in the worst, markets are up down 30%. We were also down 30%. Whereas, I am also in markets for enough period of time. So I can bet that if not everyone, most of them have lost much, much more than 30% in this crash.
Correct.
So that's where I think mutual funds definitely make sense for someone to use as a vehicle to build their wealth for a long period of time.
Right. So overall, again, the other question is that for the last couple of years, I think probably almost 2 years data that I'm looking at, we've seen a lot of money that's getting into index funds, exchange traded funds, and those were the funds that typically made good money for the investors. Do you see a trend change coming in over the next few years on this?
I don't think it will change so much, though I don't like index investing because, what is a job? Somebody is giving money. It's a fiduciary responsibility that I have. So I need to, when I'm buying a company, I need to do due diligence and buy, not that, money has come, let me buy Nifty. So what is the job that I'm doing as a professional investor if I'm buying a index fund? But I think this is a global trend, people investing into index funds and ETFs. So I don't think that trend will change, but there are few voices which are realizing and raising this issue about, everyone doing index funding, index investing, and the impact that it has on the market in terms of distorting stock prices and valuations.
Right. All right, Srinivasan, it was a pleasure speaking to you, but we'll quickly take a query that's come in from Vinod Dattar, who's clearly saying that do you think that the last 2 days spurt in indices is a flash in the pan, or do you think it's something real?
The prices are up, real, you could sell, that is today's prices, which means what it is real. Today, for example, few stocks are up 10, 15%. In my fund, I've booked some profit in this fund. So the prices are real. However, this movement, I think, partly in anticipation of the stimuli package that everybody is eagerly waiting from Government of India. New media carried a story saying that PM has met FM. Now it is any moment FM will announce a stimuli package, and the package can be fairly large versus the first two package, which is more of a relief. I think there are two things one need to do. One is somebody is in a deep problem. You're trying to ensure that he survives. So that is a stimuli package. That is a relief package. And second is, yes, you understand economy is in a bad shape. Every central bank has done many things to see that the demand grows. We also need to do something to see that, give a stimuli to the economy. So people are waiting for that package to come. So I think that the market is moving up in anticipation of that also. So I am also eagerly looking forward to what will be there in that. So again, I don't think there is anyone who can comment about what will happen in a few days. I don't think anybody has a clue. But as I highlighted in the past, I think it'll take time for economy to recover. First, we need to get out of this virus crisis. So I think I will not be excited. And also, I think this kind of a 8%, 10% move that we are seeing, that is not a healthy sign at all. But it's a reality, and I'm also saying that for a period of time, I think it's very, very clear that India would emerge much stronger than where it is today, within India and globally also. So that way, from a 2, 3, 4 years perspective, it's a great time to buy. India will do much better. But I would say that one should not put everything right away, but do it in a staggered way.
Right. All right, Srinivas. And Srinivas, in fact, thank you for joining in and giving us your perspective as well. It's really great for retail investors to understand what they should be doing. So that was Srinivas Ravuri, CIO, Equities PGIM India Asset Management Private Limited. Thank you everyone for joining us on the webinar as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Hiral, and thanks to everyone, and stay safe.
Exactly. Stay safe and stay home.
Yeah.